The reason I wanted to go is just to get a first-hand experience in another culture, just to learn everything I possibly could. We landed in Bangkok and then caught a plane to Chiang Mai. From there we drove to Wat Chan. Every day from Wat Chan we'd drive to a different village, and that's where we would set up our mobile health clinics.
What you might expect a nurse's role to be here in Australia is totally different from what happens in Thailand or China.
Over there it is just natural remedies, and they call our medicine the magic medicine because they take a tablet and they feel much better generally the next day. So that was their little joke they had.
I think that Asian countries predominantly have quite a significant difference in their healthcare provision. So it's really great for the students to be able to experience a different climate and a different environment and see how that healthcare is provided under those conditions. In the rural area that we were in, they were quite poor and quite underfunded in regards to government funding for the basic needs of people. So clean water, fresh fruit and vegetables, those sort of basic staples of health provision.
I found being over there was just seeing how they lived. I found that very hard to see in the villages because they're very remote, rural and impoverished.
It was overwhelming. We're so used to giving children our iPads over here, but over there we're giving them the iPads and they didn't want it. We had days where some students would educate on hand hygiene, toothbrushing. When they got the toothbrushes, they were excited about it. They loved it.
The other thing we did was go into little remote communities where the community themselves would set up an area for the students to work with their community nurses and the doctors and the dentists, and we actually did health checks for the adults in that community. But adults would also bring along their children who hadn't seen a doctor or don't have access to even the community nurses. So they were curious to look at what we look like and what we did, and we were actually curious to see what healthcare they needed for us to provide them. What we're hoping that students would get out of the program is a total appreciation for how different nursing is and healthcare provision is across the spectrum. So if they can't speak the language, then how you might interact with that person to support them and to identify their healthcare needs. So how their culture might impact on the way you nurse them, how you provide care for that particular person is so important. So having first-hand experience actually enables our students to connect better with the diversity that they're going to see when they work in the clinical environment here in Australia.
I felt like we did make a difference. It might have only been very small, but it put a smile on each of their faces, and that to me is making a difference. The friendships I made over there were definitely very special. There are some students that I still see and speak to now. Definitely a bond that we'd have for life.
One of the highlights of studying at Western Sydney Uni was going on this amazing trip. I'll do it again within a heartbeat. I tell everyone.
Go for it. Just get in there and make the most of every moment you have there. It's definitely worth it.